What's happening, guys? So chances are if you clicked on this video, you are searching for careers that will help you achieve your financial goals. And there are so many different options out there. Well, good news, you came to the right spot. I've probably spent thousands of hours researching this stuff, and I've stumbled upon some really amazing careers that have a lot of opportunity. And in this video, we're gonna go over the careers that create the most millionaires. And these aren't necessarily careers where you have to go to college for 17 hours, or you have to work like 90 hours a week, or you have to donate your kidney.
Oh, they took my freaking kidney.
Or anything like that. Most of these careers are pretty straightforward and they have a few things in common which I'm gonna go over in the video. But really quick, before we get into that, I just wanna say a huge thank you to the sponsor of this video, which is smashing the like button, because sponsorships are kind of annoying, so I don't like to include them in my videos. Number 10 on the list is going to be sales specialists. Now this comprises both salespeople as well as sales supervisors. And this is based off of a study by NPR where they categorize different careers and how much they make into percentiles. So we're gonna be focusing on the top 90th percentile as well as the top 99th percentile. So this is gonna be the top 10% of earners and the top 1%. Now, by the way, the 90th percentile is going to be people that are making over $103,000 a year, and the 99th percentile is going to be people who are making over $207,000. And since there isn't any new hard data on what types of careers create the most millionaires in the modern times, because those types of studies actually take decades in order to do, and then by the time they've been done, a lot of the times those jobs are going to be saturated. And because of that, it's a lot smarter to rely on salaries as a much better measure of those careers that are going to create the most millionaires. Now, it's no surprise that salespeople are on here. This is one of the most valuable skills that you can learn. And I think a big thing here is to be a salesperson that's in the right industry. Because if you're selling things to people in industries that don't have a lot of opportunity, you're probably going to be making peanuts. But if you're a salesperson in the tech industry or the finance industry or some other industry that's booming right now, you can make really good money through commissions. And by the way, as we're going through this video, think about ones that you either have an interest in or maybe you are naturally talented at. This is kind of like a choose your own adventure for careers, where it doesn't necessarily mean that any of them are better than any of the others, but it really matters what you are interested in. Number 9 on the list is going to be marketing and ad management. Now, I'm not surprised this was also on the list, and this is another one of the really good ones. It's similar to sales in that it's a very good skill to learn, but this one is a little bit more scalable. If you're selling, you can only sell to one person at a time, but with marketing, you can market to thousands or even millions of people at the same time. Now, this is one that was found in both the 90th percentile as well as the 99th. Marketing is also a really interesting profession right now because it's changing so fast with the whole digital revolution. Whereas sales has pretty much been the same for the past 50 years, maybe even longer than that, marketing is completely different than what it looked like 50 years ago. And it's evolved so fast that a lot of the time universities can't even keep up with it. And so if you want to learn the most in-demand skills, you do need to kind of maybe consider taking a course online, or maybe on Skillshare or Teachable or Udemy or something along those lines. I see a lot of opportunities here with all the different methods of advertising, and for someone with the right type of skill set, this one can be perfect.
A great success!
So this might be good for people who are interested in sales, but they're too introverted to actually go out and talk to people like me and most of my audience. Just kidding, being an introvert is awesome. You should never let that hold you back. In fact, there's a lot of careers out there where being an introvert will actually help you. Now, if you are part of the 7% of my audience that is an extrovert, then the next career might be even better for you than sales. Number 8 on the list is going to be lawyers. Now, this is traditionally a very well-respected degree, and everybody knows that, a lot of lawyers can make pretty good money. Now, I will say that the market has gotten pretty saturated because of the fact that schools just keep on pumping lawyers out like crazy. It's definitely not as good as it used to be. You do have to be very careful. I'll probably make a video about that in the future. This is one of those professions where it's very high risk, high reward, where you could end up jobless or you could end up making millions and millions of dollars a year. Now, lawyers make up a significant portion of the top 10%, and they make up an even bigger slice of the top 1%. Now, a big part of being a lawyer that gets paid really well is to choose the right specialty as well as working in the right industry. Now, obviously, pay isn't everything. You want to make sure that you go into something that you're interested in or you have a natural talent for as well. And if pay is all you care about, just watch this video, make a list of all the ones that I recommend on a piece of paper, turn around 10 times, get yourself a pet monkey, have it throw a dart at the list, and then pick whichever one is on the list, because all of these are going to be pretty good. But it's almost always a good idea to choose something that you're interested in as well as something that has a lot of opportunity, because then you get the best of both worlds. Like everything else in life, there's a fine balance. Number 7 on the list is going to be physicians. And of course, you're probably not surprised to see this one here as well. This is another one of those classic careers that a lot of people respect, and they tend to do really well. They tend to get paid really well. Now, physicians make up a small slice of the top 10% and a big slice of the top 1%. So you might be wondering why I didn't rank them higher on the list. Well, much like lawyers, it's a career that traditionally has been very respected, but because of the fact that it was kind of overhyped for so long, I think it's become a little bit overrated. It's definitely not as bad as lawyers, but it's still not as good as it used to be. Now, additionally, doctors have to put in many years of schooling, residency, and sometimes fellowships before they can make the big bucks like they show on the chart. And a lot of the time, doctors don't hit a net worth of 0, meaning their net worth is well below 0 until their late 30s or sometimes even their early 40s. Once they make it to that point, they're going to live really well because they have a very nice salary, but in my opinion, it's just not worth it to be stressing out like crazy and just working like 80 hours a week and then, getting worked super hard in residency through the best years of your life. Now, one thing to keep in mind is the pay does vary a lot between different types of specialties. Neurosurgeons on average make over $600,000 a year, whereas family medicine doctors make around $240,000. So this is still a really good option for a lot of people out there, but there's just so much that you have to sacrifice going through all that schooling, all that residency, etc., before you can finally start making a lot of money. And many of the jobs on this list are ones that you can get after just getting a 4-year degree. Number 6 on the list is going to be accountants. This is one of the ones that I mentioned that you can get into with a 4-year degree, and you can see that they are well represented within the top 1% as well as the top 10%. Now, accountants do all sorts of things for different businesses, but one of the main things is that they do taxes. So they're able to basically get an inside look at a bunch of different types of businesses and see how much they're making. Many accountants start with a normal job and then they identify opportunities within maybe an industry or a specific type of business that they could open, and then they either specialize in that industry or maybe they even open their own business themselves. Additionally, if they want to, they can work their way all the way up to a CEO if they want to take the corporate route. Definitely not surprised to see this one on the list at all. I also made an entire video about accountants, so you can check that out as well. Number 5 on the list is going to be finance specialists. And this is an interesting one because they are nowhere to be found in the 90th percentile. They're not there at all. However, they occupy a significant amount of the 99th percentile, 2 different types of careers: financial managers as well as financial specialists. Now, I thought this was interesting, so I decided to look even more deeply into it, and I found out that finance careers are very hit or miss. I found a very interesting article that was written by an investment manager who pretty much works primarily with those in the top 1%, and he explained that the most common profession for those who are in the top 0.5%, so basically those in the 99.5th percentile, was people who were involved with the finance industry, whether this was financial services or banking. So getting involved in finance is another one that's high risk but also high reward. You might end up not making very much, or you could end up making a ton. Number 4 on the list is going to be software engineering. Now, this one is an up and comer in my opinion. I think if we do this one a few years down the line, it might even be higher on the list because it is a very sought after skill. And out of all the ones on this list, I would say this is the one that's growing the fastest. Now, this is a relatively new profession, and for that reason, there's not that much data from the past showing how many millionaires have been created. However, they do make up a lot of the top 10%. And what makes this one so great is there's so many different ways that you can become a millionaire. You can work for a big tech company like Google or Facebook, where sometimes they'll pay their employees over $500,000 a year, or you can work for a smaller startup that you really believe in, and you can get paid mostly in stock options, and if that startup takes off, maybe it gets huge, like, Tesla or something, you can end up becoming a millionaire that way just simply because you own so much stock in the company. Or you can work a normal job for a while, learn the ropes, and then you can go off and start your own company in the tech industry, which has some of the best opportunities for entrepreneurs. I really wouldn't be surprised to see this one higher on the list pretty soon. I think it's one of the best ones out there. Number 3 on the list is going to be engineers. Now, historically speaking, when you look at like the last 100 years or so, engineers have actually created the most millionaires as well as billionaires. However, engineering isn't as good as it used to be. It's kind of like doctor and lawyer, where it's been overhyped for so long that it is kind of getting a little bit saturated and it's not quite as good, and I think it's a little bit overrated. Now, many engineers become millionaires because they're working in cutting edge industries where they're basically learning some of the most sought after skills that you can possibly learn. Then they identify big opportunities within that industry and they start their own companies. And engineering is great because it basically teaches you how to come up with ideas and transport that idea from just a concept into the real world. So I'm not surprised that this one ranks so highly on the list. Number 2 on the list is going to be managers and other leadership positions. Here we go, management and leadership positions. This is a highly sought after skill. Companies love people who have leadership skills. And you might think this is only, CEOs and COOs, and they do make up a significant amount of the top 10% as well as the top 1%. However, other types of management positions make up more in each one of those categories. Now, the key here is to be a leader or a manager in an industry where there's a lot of opportunity. Being a manager at your local 7-Eleven would be pretty good to get some initial leadership experience, and that's great, but in order to make the big bucks, you want to go for positions in thriving industries. Leadership and management skill might be some of the most important skills that you could possibly learn, and companies look for people who have these. Leadership is really hard, it's kind of a science and it's kind of an art form, so if you can be one of the rare people that's really good at it, you can really set yourself apart. Number 1 on the list is going to be entrepreneurs and business owners. Many of the other careers on this list, after they've initially gotten their start in these different careers and different industries, will move on to starting their own business and becoming an entrepreneur. This is where they can end up making a ton of money, and that's reflected in this book called The Millionaire Next Door. Now, according to the authors of this book, and it's a great read if you've never read it, small business owners make up the majority of those who become millionaires. Oftentimes, they own a business that's considered to be unsexy, like they might own a truck driving transport business or a real estate brokerage. Now, unlike all of the gurus on YouTube, what they'll tell you, most of these business owners spent years in that career or that industry before they discovered an opportunity and they started a business in order to capitalize on that opportunity. Because of the fact that they had so much experience in that industry, it gave them such a competitive advantage, and that increased their chances of their business being successful. Many of them started their business while they were still working on the side as well, because a lot of the time it takes years and years in order to get the momentum build up in order for your business to make a full-time income. Then when their business took off, that's when they quit their job and they went full-time working as an entrepreneur. Many also fail several times before they find success. And of course, this is a different picture than all the gurus try to paint when they're trying to sell you the $1,997 course. Now, a few things I want to mention here when you're looking at all of these different careers. The first thing here is it's not about what you make, it has a lot more to do with what you invest. So we've all heard the statistics of, I think 70% of professional athletes end up going broke, 80% of lottery winners end up going broke, and that's because they don't understand how to manage their money. So having basic personal finance skills like budgeting, saving, and investing is essential. Doesn't matter how much money you make, if you don't know how to budget, save, and invest, you're probably going to end up losing all of it. The second thing I want to talk about on this list is you want to go where the opportunity is. So this could be going into a particular career, it could be going into a particular industry, or it could be even moving to a different country or a different city. If there isn't a lot of opportunity wherever you live, then you want to change your surroundings and go to a place where there is. This one is really key, and it's one that a lot of people overlook. Third thing I want to mention is you probably notice that there's a lot of business-related careers in the top 10% as well as the top 1%. And I've noticed this in a ton of different studies I've looked at. There's a lot of business-related careers where they end up making a lot of money and having higher net worths. Now, part of this is because business-related careers tend to pay better, but I think another part of it is because people who are interested in business-related careers tend to be those who are a little bit smarter with money. So these are probably people who know how to budget, save, and invest, and they do it early and often. The fourth thing I want to talk about is a lot of this has to do with time. So I use the example of the doctor where yes, they make a ton of money, but it also takes a lot of time in order to get to that level where they're making that high salary. So time is another one that you really want to think about. How long is it going to take you in order to get to that point where you're making really good money? Number 5 on the list is if you do decide to go the leadership route, maybe you want to work your way up the corporate ladder, becoming a manager is going to happen so much faster if you just work really hard. I've seen this over and over again where people will enter a business and they just work super hard and they're able to work their way up through the business to those higher paying jobs. A lot of the time, these people don't have a lot of other things that set them apart. They didn't go to a really nice school or anything like that. At the end of the day, all the boss cares about is how hard they work. So hard work is pretty much mandatory. You're not going to get to this level if you don't work super hard. Not saying that there's a lot of people out there that work really hard that still don't end up making it to this level. That definitely happens. A lot of it has to do with luck. Thank you for watching this video. I made it just for you. Go ahead, smash the like button, hit the subscribe button, ring the notification bell, and comment down below any thoughts, comments, or criticisms.